Brothers and sisters in Islam, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it to be a pleasure, a refresher, and an honor for us to have somebody of the caliber of Ahmed Deedat in our midst. He's just come back from a tour of the Arab states on these very topics, and has had a series of topics and lectures delivered during this week already at various venues. We are glad to have him in Hanover Park tonight. We welcome all of you to this evening's lecture, and in case some of you may leave early, I would like to remind you that we would like to see you and your friends and your neighbors at the City Hall tomorrow evening. The bill or the poster is in front of the table, Crucifixion with an X, or is it in fact fiction? Please turn up, and I can assure you, from what I've heard, you've got to be there seated before 7:30. If not, you'll be compelled to stand outside. The topic tonight is something that everybody will be able to follow and find interesting. You don't have to be a scholar of the Bible, you don't have to be a scholar or a student of Islam to be able to understand the topic. Open any newspaper and you'll see Arab and Israeli conflict. The topic tonight, Arabs, Israel and the Arabs. Is it conflict or conciliation? I give to you Brother Ahmed Deedat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله المولى العظيم. Mr. Chairman, brothers and sisters, the topic of this evening, Arabs and Israel, conflict or conciliation, is not a subject which we have conjured up from thin air. We have had a gruesome reminder of this subject in this evening's paper, the Argus, Friday 13th. Friday the 13th. You remember, jokingly I was telling you, for the Westerner, 13 is an unlucky number, and Friday the 13th is double bad luck. So you have Friday the 13th this evening, and you see here in the Argus, this evening's paper, Israeli hostage blitz. It says here, commandos rescue 30 passengers, kill 3 Arab guerrillas in 25-second dawn raid, and it carries on. It's an eternal reminder. It's a gruesome reminder about the problem in the Middle East between the Arabs and the Jews. Now this title also is not a title which I have thought of. Arabs and Israel, conflict or conciliation. When the Israelis, when they attacked Lebanon, in Beirut they attacked the Muslims, I think it was 1982, and they were trying to destroy every Palestinian in Beirut. You remember the occasion. Every day there was news. American cluster bombs were being used to wipe out the Palestinians once and for all, solve the problem. That's what the Jews were thinking, that by destroying these Palestinians in Beirut, they would solve the problem of the Middle East. Around that time, I get a telephone call in my office from a Professor Lawson of the Natal University, professor of law. His name was Lawson. So he's asking, he says, look, the Israeli Consul General is invited by the Jewish students to lecture to Natal University on the problem of the Middle East. But I feel, he said, I feel that it is unfair that we only listen to one side of the story. If you would be prepared, we would like you to also be represented on the platform, present the Muslim point of view. And I am always game. There's something I just can never say no. Somebody invites me, and if I'm free, I say, right. So he said, how should we advertise the topic? So I suggested that we advertise the pros and cons of Israel, which means the for and against of Israel. Very neutral subject. The pros and cons, this man, he will say in the favor of Israel, and I might have something opposite to say. Pros and cons of Israel. This is a very beautiful topic. He says, I will inform the Jews and I will come back to you. I said, all right. A few days later, he phones me and he says, you know, the Jews are suggesting they are not satisfied with your topic, the way you present it. They want the subject to be Arabs and Israel, conflict or conciliation? Question mark. So I said, all right. You see, there is a catch. People generally don't see the catch. The Jew is very ingenious. Allah has given him a lot of intelligence, a lot more than most of us. And in the Holy Quran, I was checking up this evening, you know, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam had two sons, Hazrat Ismail and Hazrat Ishaq. And Allah Bari Ta'ala is describing Hazrat Ismail as Ghulaman Halima. Halim means a suffering and a humble person. And he describes Ishaq as Alim, very knowledgeable. Now, Allah is all wise, He's omniscient, He knows. And He's describing Ismail and his children as Halim, submissive, suffering, patient, persevering. There are the children of Hazrat Ismail, the Arabs. And the children of Ishaq, the Jews, Alim, knowledgeable. Allah is giving, as I was telling you the other night, everybody, Allah Bari Ta'ala has given him something special. He's given something special to the Arabs, He's given something special to the Jews. So this Alim, knowledgeable people, ingenious people, they are now tying us up before we start. Conflict or conciliation? What do you want? So if we say conflict, you'll tell the audiences, you see, these people, Muslims are brawlers. They're looking for trouble. They want a conflict. We want peace, they want conflict. So from the word go, we are on the losing side in the minds of our listeners. If we say conciliation, then he says, you see, why are you throwing stones at us? Why don't you leave us alone? So it's heads I win, tails you lose. Either way, you are the loser. I said, all right, we'll accept it as they want it. You see, this game, the Jews played 2,000 years ago with Jesus Christ. Same, no difference. A very ingenious people, as I say. They came to Jesus again and again with problems. Created problems. They created the problems. They come to Jesus and they says, Master, in the Hebrew language they would say, Rabbi, Maulana Sahib, Sheikh, Ya Imam. Must we pay tribute to Caesar or not? Must we pay taxes or not? What a question to ask this messenger of God. Must we pay taxes to the government or not? See, there's a catch. The catch is, if he says pay tribute, pay taxes, then they will tell the people that this man is not our Messiah, the man we are waiting for, our liberator. This is not the man. Because he's a stooge of the government. He's telling us to pay taxes. So he is in trouble. Who Jesus will be in trouble. If he says don't pay taxes, then they won't pay taxes. So if the government accosts them, he says, look, our Messiah says don't pay. So either way, Jesus loses. It's heads I win, tails you lose. Beautiful, beautiful strategy. Either way, Jesus would be the loser. But Jesus is also a Jew. And also Allah has given him that intelligence. So he's asking them, where is the tribute money, the tax money? So they give him a coin. So here. They say, whose inscription is this picture? Whose picture is this? This is Caesar's. He said, well, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. What belonged to him, give it to him. So he got out of the difficulty. He got out of the difficulty. I am only demonstrating how ingenious Allah has made these people. You can never win against a Jew in any type of written document you get into it, or in a discussion or a dialogue. It's very difficult. They come to Jesus again, according to their own records, the Christian record. Now they bring a woman, they catch her and they bring her. He says, you know, Master, this woman, we caught her in the act of doing zina, adultery. What must we do to her? So if he says, stone her, they'll stone her, because that was a law. In the Torah, it says the adulterer and the adulteress must be stoned to death. So if he says stone her, they'll go and kill her. And adultery was not a capital crime in the Roman Empire. So they will be charged. He said, why did you kill that woman? He said, look, our Messiah said so. So he's in trouble with the government. If he says, let her go, then they say, you see, this man is not a man of God. Because of the Torah says that the adulterer and the adulteress must be stoned to death. So again, heads I win, tails you lose. Both way poor Jesus loses. So what does he do? Again, he's also a Jew. Allah has also given him that intelligence. So he says, let him who's free from sin cast the first stone. Anybody who's sinless, you haven't done any crime, you didn't do haram, zina, then you start. And then he started scribbling in the sand. The Christians don't know what he was scribbling. People were watching over his shoulder to find out what he's scribbling. Actually, he was scribbling combinations of names. Mary and Joseph. This guy who was looking over the shoulder is Joseph, and he had something to do with Mary. So he says, Mary and Joseph. It reminds him as it's me. Away he goes. Then Solomon and Bathsheba. So the guy was looking over the shoulder was Solomon, and he had something to do with Bathsheba. So away he goes. By the time he's finished scribbling these combinations, the whole lot of them were gone. Because they were all zanis, they were all adulterers. So he solved the problem. Now what are we to do with the Jews? So ingenious. What do you want? Conflict or conciliation? I said, all right, you can have it. Let them have it as they want. If they say, you must speak first, I said, all right, I will speak first. Alhamdulillah. You know, I said, look, if Allah has put you in the right, if you have got the right this thing, you don't have anything to worry about. So we had a debate with Dr. Lotham of the Israeli embassy in Pretoria and myself. It was a fantastic meeting. It was videotaped. But you see, when we started this meeting, it started with a small hall, and there were hundreds milling outside. They want to get in and they can't get in. So the chairman said, look, we'll have to move from here into a bigger hall. So everybody started moving to the bigger hall. And these camera people, they also had to carry the things along, and they just put there and they started shooting. And behind us was a long curtain, and this curtain was flapping. And these things here, you know, they are so sensitive that they are effective to any type of light change. So the camera is also doing that. As our eye would do, these lenses are also doing the same thing. And so the film was not so grand, so we didn't promote it, but it was a fantastic meeting that we had. However, what is the case about the Jews and the Arabs? What is the problem? You see, the Arabs, when this problem started, and the problem really started around 1918. Prior to 1918, the Arabs, they didn't know that they were a nation. You see, in a primitive stage of man, the man thinks, well, he's a human being, everybody is a human being. You come along and there's a land next door to you. If he comes and settles down there, ahlan wa sahlan, you know, the Arab would say, family and plain, this is all Allah's, the earth is the Lord's, and the goodness thereof, everything is Allah's, you can enjoy, come. So in 1908, the Jews established Tel Aviv, one of the most important cities in Israel today is Tel Aviv. They started building Tel Aviv in 1908. What did the Arabs say? Nothing. It's our cousins, you know, they're building a city there, you know, let them carry on, mashallah. You know, they're doing a good job. Then some poor Arabs, poor among all communities, you know, they try and take a little advantage. If they can steal your sheep, your goat, they'll do that. Whether he is a Hindu poor man or a Christian poor man, the poor man is always out to pinch something or the other. So if an Arab went and pinched some goats or sheep of the Jews, and the Jews had vigilantes, you know, like you see these films, cowboys and crooks. You know how the cowboys, you know, with the gang, they go and run down the crooks. Same type of thing the Jews were doing with the Arabs. They used to corner them up and give them a good bashing, you know, in gangs, vigilantes you call them. What did the Arab say? Nothing. He said, you see, my brother, the Arab says, my brother, he went and stole my cousin's sheep and goat, so he gave him a good whacking, he deserved it. They were not thinking in terms of Arab and Jew. See, this is my brother, and that's my cousin. My brother had no right to steal my cousin's sheep. So if he did it, and if these guys catch him and give him a good whacking, he deserved it. They were not racist. They were not thinking in terms of race, Arab or Jew. No, no, no. It was one human being to another. This was the relationship. In 1918, Weizmann, a Jew, a very brilliant scientist, he helped the British government in some invention about gunpowder or something like that. And as a reward, the British government, they said, now we will give you Palestine as a Jewish home. This is what he wanted. He said, right, we give it to you. Palestine as a home for the Jews. Now the Arabs wake up. He said, look, man, this is our home. These guys want to take it away. So they started rumbling, grumbling, but unorganized, backward people, uneducated people. So they're making noise, they're making some little trouble here, little trouble there, and it carried on. But the Jews were getting in more and more Jews, sophisticated people from Germany, from France, from Poland, from Russia. They have been brushing their wits against the Westerner. They come along among these simple simpletons, fools. These our brothers were like fools. You know, what the white men came here, what they found the Bushmen and the Hottentot and the Bantu, similar condition they found the Arabs there. So they started their techniques and they started getting in more and more and more. And the Arabs started making a little bigger noise and a little bigger noise until 1948. In 1948, the Jews, they started bombing the British. The King David Hotel, they bombarded and they killed so many people. Count Bernadette, they killed him. Some British soldiers, they captured them and they hanged them. This Begin fellow, Begin, he did it. So the British government offered a reward of $47,000, dead or alive, for Begin, the ex-prime minister of Israel. And the British threw in the towel. And these people, they had the experience. They were in the World War II, World War I. They had 1 million soldiers, 1 million Jews from all over the world, experienced people, and they knocked hells into our brethren, and they captured the land. They had certain peace apportioned to them, but they went and, the Arabs started making trouble, and unequipped, the Egyptians came there and they got a good whacking, and the Jordanians came and got a good whacking, and our Jewish cousins, they did the job. They captured more than what was supposed to take. But in the previous 1400 years of Islam, or 1000 years of Islam, the Jews were living among the Muslims. In Spain, when the Muslims conquered Spain, the Jews were working side by side and they benefit from the fruits of the Muslim conquest. The golden age of the Jew was the golden age of the Muslim. The best time that they ever had was under the Muslims in Spain. And for 1000 years, the Christians have been persecuting the Jews. Every Easter, they kill the Jews. He said, these are Christ killers. They kill our God. Kill them. And they kill the men, and they did what they liked with the women, and they burned their homes, and they fled. One pogroms after another. This country, in Germany, in Poland, in France, everywhere there were pogroms against the Jews. Every Easter, the Christians reminded themselves that these are the killers of our God. Kill them. And they massacred them. And they fled. And they fled to Muslim lands. And the Muslim says, Ahlan wa sahlan. You are our cousins. Father Abraham, he had 2 wives, Sarah and Hajara. You are the children of Sarah. We are the children of Hajara. Oh, come, live. And they went and lived. Peace. In 1000 years, there had not been a single riot against the Jews in any Muslim land. An individual Jew might have killed an individual Arab. And an Arab might have killed a Jew. But as a race, as a people, kill the Jews? Never. No riot in any Muslim land in 1000 years. Trouble only starts when now they want to capture this as their own national home. They are going to rob our brethren of their heartlands, homelands. Now in 1926, a young Jew by the name of Leopold Weiss, as a reporter for a German newspaper called Frankfurter Zeitung, he visits Jerusalem, and he's a Jew. So the Jews were having a meeting with Weizmann from England. He is really the father of this Jewish state, Israel, Weizmann. So in the meeting, they had a plan on the big table, and they were marking out what we're going to do, and we'll take this away, and we'll take that. among the Jews. They're planning, scheming. Ben Gurion was there. All these are young people, planning, scheming. Maybe Begin was also there. So this young Jew, he had a conscience. So he says, while this discussion is being carried on, he said, I'm reading from his book, he said, I had the disturbing impression that even he, who Weizmann, like most of the other Zionists, was inclined to transfer the moral responsibility for all that was happening in Palestine to the outside world. The moral, for all the trouble that was brewing, they say, British is responsible, the Germans are responsible, but not themselves. They are immaculate, masoom, sinless people. This impelled me to break through the deferential hush with which all the other people present were listening to him. They were all Weizmann talking, nobody did interject. And to ask, he says, and to ask, he asked, and what about the Arabs? So look, the way you are carving out this country, this was in 1926. So look, you're going to take this like that, and you'll take that like that, and we'll take this Gaza Strip here, and we'll take this Jordan here like that. He said, look, what about the Arabs? So this our reporter says, Leopold Weiss, Austrian-German Jew, he said, I must have committed a faux pas, a false step, something that I shouldn't have, something out of turn, by thus bringing a jarring note into the conversation. For Dr. Weizmann turned his face slowly toward me, put down the cup he had been holding in his hand, and repeated my question. What about the Arabs? What about them? So what about them? What about the Arabs? Well, this young man bleats. Well, how can you hope to make Palestine your homeland in the face of the vehement opposition of the Arabs, who, after all, are in a majority in this country? They are in a majority in this country, in Palestine. So the Zionist leader shrugged his shoulders and answered dryly. He said, we expect they won't be in a majority after a few years. We expect they won't be in a majority for very long. Perhaps so, this young man says. You have been dealing with this problem for years and must know the situation better than I do. But, quite apart from the political difficulties, which Arab opposition may or may not put in your way, does not the moral aspect of the question ever bother you? The moral aspect, robbing somebody else's property, somebody else's land, somebody else's home, does that not bother you? Don't you think that it is wrong on your part to displace the people who have always lived in this country? But it is our country, replied Dr. Weizmann, raising his eyebrows. This is our country. We are doing no more than taking back what we have been wrongly deprived of. This is the mentality. This is our country, and we have been deprived of rightfully what belonged to us. We have been wrongfully deprived. By who and when? Raises the question. When and who? You see, the Jews, 70 years after Jesus, a Roman governor by the name of Titus, these Jews were giving endless trouble in Palestine. So he kicked them all out. Out into the world, dispersed them. No single Jew to be left there. That's 2,000 years ago. That is what happened in the year 70 after Christ. Now, on that strength, that they were living there 2,000 years ago, now they are going to uproot the present people. And they say, this is our land, this is our home. So this young Jew, he cries, he bewails about his own people. He said, how was it possible? I wondered, how was it possible for people endowed with so much creative intelligence as the Jews? Wallah, there's no exaggeration. This man, he's a Jew, he's praising his own people, but there's no exaggeration. He says, so much creative intelligence as the Jews. To think of the Zionist-Arab conflict in Jewish terms alone. Did they not realize that the problem of the Jews in Palestine could, in the long run, be solved only through friendly cooperation with the Arabs? Couldn't they think? Were they so hopelessly blind to the painful future which their policy must bring? To the struggles, the bitterness, and the hatred to which the Jewish island, even if temporarily successful, would forever remain exposed in the midst of a hostile Arab sea? And how strange I thought that a nation which had suffered so many wrongs in the course of its long and sorrowful diaspora was now in single-minded pursuit of its own goal, ready to inflict a grievous wrong on another nation, and a nation too that was innocent of all that past Jewish suffering. Such a phenomena, I knew, was not unknown to history, but it made me nonetheless very sad to see it enacted before my eyes. This is how this Jew cried, what this was going on. Now, how is all this possible? That a people with such great intelligence, they can't see what they are doing, the injustice that they are committing. They can't see. You see, it can happen, and it has happened again and again. People can be programmed, brainwashed. We all get brainwashed. Everybody is trying to brainwash us, trying to give you their point of view. This is natural. And the Jews, they had brainwashed themselves, and they brainwashed the Christians. And the way they did it, you know, I have been more fortunate than most of you in having a first-hand experience of all these, what I'm relating to you now. You see, I have been working for the Jews. I worked for a Jewish firm which today has more than 125 branches in South Africa, Beer Brothers. At the time when I was working for them around the 50s, they had 9 establishments. 9. Today, it's a millionaire thing, a billionaire concern. They have more than 125 branches in and around South Africa. Perhaps they have something in Cape Town as well, Beer Brothers. I worked for them. So you might say, well, they must have paid you, to say what I'm saying. I said, no. Allah is my witness that what I'm sharing with you is the actual factual happenings, and the reasoning and the discussions, the dialogues I've had with the Jews. My boss, Mr. Bernie Beer, he's now in Israel. He's settled down there now, Bernie Beer. He calls me one day. I was a dispatch clerk in this firm in West Street, Durban. So he called me one morning. He said, Deedat, he says, I have a Jewish couple from the Argentina, and I would like to take them to the Indian area, give them some Indian meals, food, and show them the Indian area. What would you suggest? So I said, there is a Goodwill Lounge in Victoria Street, Durban. But I said, the only thing Indian about that is the curry powder they put into the curry. It's all Western. It's like a Western hotel, but the curry powder makes it Indian. So I said, but look, why don't you come to my house, and I will give you what we eat, and I will play some Indian music in the background. Then I will take you to the mosque, and that will complete your mental picture of my people, our people, the Indians. Oh, he says, that's an idea, but let me find out from my wife. The Westerner doesn't do anything without consulting his wife. He said, look, I'll find out from my wife and I'll let you know tomorrow. Next morning, he calls me again. He says, Deedat, my wife is very happy about what you are suggesting, and he takes out 3 pounds, which was a stupendous amount those days. He said, look, take this. It might help you in arranging the meals. I said, no, sir, keep it. He said, no, it'll help you. I said, thank you.